Welcome back to the show, everybody. We got a great one for you this morning. You know it's a great day when you hear headlines that involve Fidelity and Bitcoin. A very interesting case for crypto has been filed against the IRS. Billionaire skeptic is now getting into Bitcoin in a big way. PayPal makes big major shift when it comes to their customers and holding crypto, and it is a big major shift and a good one. And Brad Garlinghouse at Consensus asked about will they IPO and what's going on with the case and many, many other things. Let's just roll that beautiful intro. Here we go.
This is Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Subscribe for new content notifications. Now, here's Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. How about the movie Kryptonaires? Yeah, you can see it in a link in the description box, and here's just a piece of it right here.
I think one of the kind of my vision is that cryptocurrency can be both a good store of value.
This is just like the internet in 1980s.
Exciting. I think a lot of real world projects are now wanting to come to Lyft.
Yeah, shout out to my crypto fam. All across the land, brothers and sisters, worked all my life. Crypto performance.
There it is. You can see the movie in the link in the description box and comment section. Make sure you check it out. It is getting really, really incredible rave reviews. No doubt about it. All right, let's check it out. The market this morning is 1.7 trillion collectively. There's still a lot of old money that's been in this market that is not back in the market. We've been as high as 2.5 trillion and we're down to 1.7 right now. So there's a lot of money to move back into this market. And by the way, that doesn't account for new money to move in retail or institutions. So right now, Bitcoin hovering at 39 to 40,000 back and forth here. Ethereum 2,700 plus, and we're looking at Cardano at $1.73 right now at the number 6 spot. XRP, courtesy of the SEC dereliction of duty and intimidation tactics, we see we're sitting at $1.01. We will hear from Dark Defender, one of the amazing technical analysts and experts of the many that we follow, and he is going to give us some numbers today, so we will check that out before we leave. Looking at the range right now, we see that we are ranging between 93 cents and $1.04. Again, we will discuss the range and the price calls and targets before we get out of here today. Let's go ahead and get into the news. Shout out to BitTrue. Shout out to Curious, Iris, and the whole entire BitTrue team. They're really amazing. And I love BitTrue because they built on the XRP ledger. BitTrue is my exchange for getting all my altcoins that I can't find anywhere else. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Right here, BTR is expanding, and congratulations to them. Starting May 31st is being listed for trading on the leading exchange, Probit Global. So shout out to BitTrue and everything they're doing there to build out the ecosystem. It is amazing what they're doing. All right, let's get to it. The news this morning is Michael Val 5link says a couple investing in crypto have claimed that coins gained by mining or staking are not taxable until sold in a complaint filed to the federal court. The Tennessee couple are seeking a refund from the Internal Revenue Service. I love seeing this because now we're starting to address the real issue. Because look, one of the many things we've said is that, the crypto space really isn't going to be fully open for business until we see the digital dollars of the world launched. That's true. And wait till you see the second video I'm going to do today on that little notion. Now, the other side of this is taxes, right? International or domestic doesn't feel very sexy, and none of us really usually like taxes. But the truth is, if we don't have a firm understanding of what these crypto assets are and how they're taxed, we can't move forward, whether it's on a global level or domestic level. So I love that this is being forced as an issue, and I can't wait to see how this plays out. We will keep you up to what happens there. We'll keep you up to date. Now, this is really nice because for those in the space that are not aware, if you're an OG in the space and you've known for a long time, but Fidelity is partnered with Coinbase. That's a very important thing to understand. But here we see just in with $102 million under management, the new SEC filing shows that Fidelity's Bitcoin fund to be one of the largest of its kind. Well, this is another thing we've talked about for years on the channel. When you see larger traditional legacy firms, conventional firms like Fidelity really make these kind of things known to us that they're actually happening. They have this index fund for Bitcoin. This to me is just showing that, look, I have said that, Bitcoin is not the payment system for the future. I have said that Bitcoin has got some near-term issues in front of it when it comes to regulators and governments around the world because of its approach to trying to work outside of the system. Now, I know that very issue and that very tenet of Bitcoin is appealing to the libertarian in me and most other people around the world. But at the same time, because it is proof of work and the energy consumption, it has those things, and those two issues have put it into crosshairs, right? So because Bitcoin has fell back predominantly to a store of value and not so much a currency because of its high transaction fees and slow settlement time and low volume output when it comes to volume of transactions. These things have been an issue, but nevertheless, there is a appeal and brand awareness to Bitcoin that I believe lasts long term. And it looks like Fidelity believes it too. So looking here, we're going to see that Carl Icahn, billionaire and previous Bitcoin skeptic, now says he wants to get into crypto in a big way. I'm not going to play this clip for you because that's really all that he says. The bigger part of this is that Carl Icahn, the billionaire, used to tear up Bitcoin and say bad things about it, just like Kevin O'Leary and this one and that one and that one and this one, Mark Cuban, and the next thing you know, they're all in it. This, I believe, has been a method called talking your book. For the last however long it's been, they talk down the asset while they accumulate it because they can have an impact on the market through media. And then they accumulate the asset, and now talking about getting into it in a big way may potentially be, or possibly be, his strategy of talking his book once again and getting FOMO and retail support and even institutional level support to come back into the market to pump the asset up and then be able to sell in the face of an upside to the market and the asset itself. Now, I can't say that's what he's doing, but it certainly looks like it in the age-old strategy of talking your book. Now, let's move to this because this is big news here for PayPal customers that have taken advantage of being able to get cryptocurrency on the platform. When the platform first allowed crypto to be bought, held, and sold, it was only within the platform. You could not send your crypto outside of the PayPal account or wallet. Now they're saying global payments giant PayPal plans to let its users move the cryptocurrency they hold on its platform into third-party wallets. This is a huge step forward right here, and it tells me there may be more going on with the development of the digital dollars around the world than we're even aware of, because I believe that this is ultimately how you framework the entire digital asset space, no matter what it is, or the tokenization of the digital asset world, right? So looking here, we see Brad Garlinghouse was speaking at Consensus, and he talked with Nicolesh from CoinDesk, and we're about to hear the excerpts from that. I wanted to give you the highlights from it on what he talked about here, and let's go ahead and set that up now. And I want to also celebrate 1111 or 1111 crypto, because he had put this video clip up. So make sure you give him a follow. I'm going to go ahead and give him a subscribe right there, and I give him the thumbs up already. And let's go to the first clip. So thanks to 1111 for this, and let's set this up. The first clip here is going to be about regulatory issues for XRP. Let's let it roll right here.
In India specifically, we've been super fortunate. We're working with 3 out of 5 of the largest banks in India. That includes IndusInd, Federal Bank, Yes Bank. We also work with Axis Bank, HFTC. So, one of the primary use cases that RippleNet addresses for our customers is often remittances, and there's a lot of friction in remittances. The costs are high. And there's a very significant corridor between the Middle East, North Africa to India, a lot of immigrant populations, overseas workers living in countries like the UAE, sending money back to India.
I just want to highlight before he goes on here with to finish his comment and his answer here. One of the banks that he mentioned was at Swell in 2019 when we were there and we attended. And I was able to speak to one of the people from the banks that he mentioned. I'm not going to say which one, but it was one of the largest banks in India. I asked that gentleman directly, I realize you're working with Ripple. I realize you're here, but are you in fact, and I've come halfway around the world, I must ask the question, do you intend to use XRP? And the guy looked at me and dropped his fork while we were eating. And he says, of course, my friend. Why do you think we flew halfway around the world? Just for the food? And then we all had the biggest laugh ever. And I just breathed a big sigh of relief. And I'm going to let the rest of this play right here.
Now, Nick, as you point out, what Ripple does is we're signing up lots of payment financial institutions, banks, what have you. And some percentage of those transactions, I think last year was around 15 to 20% of all transactions went through XRP, or what we call ODL, on-demand liquidity. We haven't rolled out in India yet, in large part because of the regulatory uncertainty. And there's been times when I think we all thought, oh, great, the Indian government looks like they are warming. The macro trend line I think we've all experienced globally has been very positive, but India has kind of flip-flopped a little bit. So that has slowed some of what we're doing with XRP. Again, I think many people on this involved in Consensus, I'm sure know. Ripple is kind of the asset, the digital token we use for payments because it's so fast and inexpensive on a transaction basis is XRP. And so we have not used that in India yet.
So he giving you the skinny on what's going on with India, and I give you the skinny that everybody in India absolutely plans on using it. And according to the gentleman from one of those banks that Brad mentioned, everyone's planning on using it. Now, let me give you the next spot we key up here. XRP currency conversations with regulators around the world, not just the U.S. I think we know what's going on in the U.S. The SEC does not see XRP as a currency at the current moment. But there's a key moment where he talks about Mercury FX in Africa. And I want you to pay attention to that moment, and we'll get back to it here. Here we go.
Is XRP just being treated as a digital asset? Is it being treated as a currency? What are the conversations that you've been having with these regulators?
Yeah, look, I think the good news is, and by the way, I apologize for the siren here in the background, but the good news is nearly every country around the world, in fact, the United States is the only country around the world that has viewed XRP as a security. Every other country in which we work, they view XRP as a currency. That is well, I'm getting some audio background, but maybe nobody else is, so I'll keep going. We talked about India, South Africa. We have a ODL partner, Mercury FX, which certainly is using XRP. And in South Africa, they have with something called the IFWG, the Intergovernmental FinTech Working Group. They have a sandbox that includes Mercury FX. So
they have a sandbox includes Mercury FX in Africa. Did you know that? Isn't that interesting? Doesn't that sound a lot like the MoneyGram relationship that we had here in the U.S.? And wasn't that, in fact, a sandbox to see how it could operate? Wasn't that, in fact, just like Mercury FX currently is in Africa, a chance for them to understand through remittance corridors how XRP can work and how it can be effective? And not only can it be effective for people to see from the banking company, small, medium enterprise, payment provider side to understand it in that respect, but it's also a chance for market regulators to take a look at it in action and be able to evaluate it to understand what is the ups and downs on the issue. Now let's keep going because we got a lot more to listen to, and we do want to hear every bit of it here. So let me move here. 518, and it talks about he mentions MoneyGram on the heels of of revealing Mercury FX down in that sandbox in Africa there. So listen to this really quickly.
Way back, I want to say like 2018 maybe, there were a couple of banks that were signing up to use either on-demand liquidity or other Ripple products within certain apps. Santander comes to mind as one example.
Or PNC Bank, the first U.S. bank to go live on RippleNet. That's still very real.
How's that evolved over the last, even just the last year and a half? I think there's been a lot more attention paid to some of these remittance issues. Has the narrative around how these products are used changed? Has the actual use changed within these banks and by these bank apps?
Well, I mean, the good news is overall, growth has been very strong. I mean, a simple metric in 2020, we grew, order of magnitude about 40% quarter over quarter in terms of transactions across the network. You mentioned Santander. They have been a very active user of RippleNet, and they kind of built a product on top of RippleNet called OnePayFX. That's been in the market for about 3 years, and they have reported publicly that that's done about $450 million of volume, and that was as of I think last summer. But that has been continued growth, and so what oftentimes happens is we sign an account in one corridor, one currency pair, and then it grows from there. And so that isn't always the case. Of course, there's some accounts that we sign up and for whatever reason doesn't grow in the same way. But 40% growth quarter on quarter last year certainly serves us well. To be honest, growth has slowed this year, and that is in large part because of what has happened with the SEC here in the United States, where some U.S. customers have paused. I mean, very I was going to say famously, but very well known. MoneyGram and Ripple had a consequential relationship, which was represented. I think we publicly talked about a couple $2 billion of ODL transactions, and that we have paused that partnership in hopes of getting that clarity.
And there you have it. So they want the clarity, and that's back on. And that's what I have felt from the very beginning. MoneyGram had to distance itself only because of the lawsuit, not because it wasn't working. They get this lawsuit straightened out, and it is back on, just like it's already still on with MercuryFX. Okay. Now, with that being said, he does go on to say that XRP is alive and well, and payments are alive and well in the network. In fact, it's very quick. It's very short. Let me just have him tell you right here. So, look, payments, and as was introduced for this session, payments was kind of the original vision and use case across crypto, and that vision is alive and well using XRP, and again, because it's so efficient for these types of purposes. There you go. And that's right there from Brad Garlinghouse. Now I'm going to move this. There's only 2 more clips left to hear, and I want you to hear them, and you're going to want to hear them. And we're going to also hear from Dark Defender real quick about XRP price. Let me set this up. So he asked about SEC and Ripple case. And, obviously Brad Garlinghouse has to be very sensitive to what he asks or what he says and how he comments. But I want you to hear, because this really does say where we are in the moment and how the SEC has been forced by the courts now to compel to bring documents forward to prove how they determined that Bitcoin and Ethereum are not securities. Listen here. That there's a massive gap in leadership here in the United States. Now, if we go back in time, circa 20 years, the leadership around regulation for the internet as we know it, the internet of information as we know it, really helped catalyze the U.S. leadership, which had both economic and, frankly, geopolitical benefits. But there's a lot of global regulators that are way out ahead of the U.S. I think many people cite Japan, they cite Singapore, certainly the UK, Switzerland, even the UAE and the Middle East. These are all examples of markets where there has been clarity, and that certainty and clarity allows entrepreneurs, allows investors to kind of, invest and go forward. As I mentioned earlier, the U.S. is the only country that has suggested XRP as a security. No other country on the planet has suggested that. So, look, I think, despite being in that discovery phase, one of the most consequential things that did get quite a bit of attention is some have accused the SEC of picking winners because they came out and said, Bitcoin's not a security. Then they came out and said ETH is not a security, without a lot of explanation as to why that's the case.
And one of the things that Ripple asked for in the discovery is to compel the SEC to share the information about how they made those decisions, why they, kind of picked those winners. And the good news was the court did grant Ripple's motion to compel the SEC to, share that information. And it's really the first time they've been ordered by a court to be transparent about this. And I think all we've asked for 2 to 3 years is that regulatory clarity. And so, look, I think it is progress. Unfortunately, it moves slowly. I'm hopeful that as a new SEC administration comes into its seat, that there's an opportunity to kind of revisit some of the previous administration's decisions. I think everyone knows, Jay Clayton filed this lawsuit the day before he left. I mean, he left the building the next day, and it's kind of like, way to hand this to the next guy. But so far, I feel really good and really pleased that a neutral fact finder, the judge, is, clearly understanding some of the nuances here and the importance of this for crypto here in the United States.
Very great. Very good response from Brad Garlinghouse here, because this really does come down to the fact that they are not going to be able to prove how they came to a clear understanding of why, in fact, Bitcoin and Ethereum are not securities. And I think they're going to have trouble with that, especially on the front of Ethereum, because we know we've heard and seen plenty of video on this channel and many others. And shout out to Digital Asset Investor, who has been really out front in finding those clips and putting them out on Twitter for everybody to understand. Vitalik Buterin absolutely did an ICO with Ethereum and has had no blowback from any market regulator like the SEC. Now, in this particular spot, he's asked about Ripple still planning to go public. Let's listen to this right here.
The future, or how are you approaching that question?
Look, I give Coinbase a huge amount of credit. They have been a leader across crypto here in the United States for years, and getting them out, I think, is good for crypto overall. I think what I said is, Ripple wouldn't be the first, and Ripple certainly won't be the last. I think that the likelihood that Ripple is a public company is very high at some point. I think in the middle of an SEC lawsuit, we need to get that closed out, and the SEC approves an S1. And, easier to do that after you have closure and clarity and that regulatory certainty we have been seeking for so long. So I'll leave it at that.
There you go. The hand that giveth and the hand that taketh belong to the same person. So we got to get this lawsuit closed out, and then you're going to see Ripple probably go public in a very big way. And he told you there's a high likelihood of that happening. So that sometime I would anticipate this year, and it looks like it's probably August or September, to start looking out for that. And truthfully, it could happen today, right? But the reality is this case will not last forever. And when they settle it with the SEC, it doesn't mean that they'll make a determination on XRP, whether it is or is not a security. But they could certainly settle the case as far as to the unregistered security sales of the asset. And then from that point on, the SEC will not be able to sue Ripple anymore over XRP. And then it can go to the Treasury and FSOC and other agencies like that to determine the actual outcome of the asset and how they're going to adopt and use it. That may be the path we go here. Maybe not, but maybe so. So that's part of my speculation to the matter. Now let's get on to Dark Defender right here, who is going to tell us that hope you all had your coffees. Well, let's check out XRP. She's continuing her third wave on a 4-hour chart. Targets are 126, 133, and 156. It means XRP can hit and bounce back from these levels. If she breaks 107, it'll be great support after touching targets in the short term. And here you can see this chart that he put up from yesterday here in the wave. And here is the 3 for 171 of XRP soon. Now, as you know, and you may not, but if you do, the longer we sit at a price, the more chance we usually have to see a rollover in a downturn, right? So the more kind of sideways motion we see on price, the more we run the risk of it actually touching a lower support. But what has been interesting about every bit of this that we get from Dark Defender or Coins Kid or Crypto Wizard or Crypto Bull 2020 and everyone else who is amazing, they haven't taken the price targets for early June off the table $2.30 plus $2.72, $5 plus $13.33, $27 from CoinsKid. You know, all of this is still in play, and that to me is exciting. So there's our numbers for today. Remember, before you go, if you have a pet, especially a dog, and shout out to my little doggy Joe, Jonesing for a Treat is a healthy, natural treats for your best friend. Make sure you check them out. There is a discount coupon code in the description box and the comment section. It is DP2021. DP2021. Make sure you get some for your best friend. And I'll catch all of you on the next one.